Elden Ring Nightreign has had his network test, and there's been a lot of stuff in the community discussions about things that it needs to fix. And we're not going to really be talking about the biggest issue where there's a lot of disconnect, and something that happened very often, pretty much every match for beginning. Then they fixed it a little bit, but they basically made it so that you can't put in a password. You basically can't play with a friend. You got to join the random. And then they reworked some things, and it's a network test, guys. So let's calm down. But so that's not today's topic, but I do want to address that to kind of put it in the air. If you want to talk about it in the comments, that's fine. But today I want to talk about something that's actually a little crazy. Feedback from the community. There's been a bunch of it, and one of the biggest things, and something that I might even put in the title of the video, is quality of life. I think the fact that this new game is supposed to be a multiplayer co-op experience, and it lacks quality of life in a lot of ways. And that's something that I think, we're going to explore and discuss. I think that, first of all, in defense of this Nightreign mode, Elden Ring itself and From Software purposely makes their games have this retro look or feel. For example, like the bow and arrows, when you use first person, it looks like a 1990s graphics and setup. And I definitely never liked that, but that's an example of something that's like lower quality. Or for example, how your characters are a little more stiff and they can't really climb too crazy, the way they do in this new mode. That's a great feature, but those are things that in the general games for Dark Souls, something that you want to have that feel of restrictive play. So your movement is a little slower, you're not as fast as we are, for example, in this game. All of that stuff is intentional. So in defense of From Software, a lot of this mechanics and gameplay or features tend to be very retro-ish is the best word I can use, and they want you to have to deal with that. So that's my first defense before I get into the topic. Second defense is that it's meant to be more difficult. It's meant to have some challenges, and they also decided that this co-op was going to be a little more fluid, so you don't have fall damage. You can climb a bit, just literally mantle on anything, right, like a wall or something, and kind of just get a little wall jump type of action and things like that weren't in the game before. Your movement speed's fast. You'll never go heavy and slow roll. I mean, there's a list of these great little features that you can be grateful for, like me, or you can get upset and be mad that it's missing a lot of different things. And one of the topics was pinging. In this game, you can ping something, but it doesn't really give you a good indication of what it is that the person's pinging all the time. So it doesn't have like, hey, there's a boss here, let's work together. So one of the first things that I want to talk about that I'm hearing from the community, and that I also feel because I play games like Apex and other games where the characters will speak when you ping something. Hey, look, I found this item. Hey, there goes a boss, or whatever it is that you're pinging. They'll have some verbal suggestions and the icons of those things, and the details will be there. And so they've been talking about having a better communication system within the game, right? And he's like, hey, we got the text chat. What if nobody wants to get on the microphone? What are we going to do? How do we do this? And so that's already been addressed, guys. That's something that developers put into the game, and they want to, create a better system. And I'm all for it, and I think it's necessary, and it's very, very key. And you can't diss this game because the Elden Ring co-op is pretty bad. It's something we're used to for Dark Souls From Software players, but that doesn't mean that it's the best. And so this game changed it. Now we can spread out. I can go where I need to go and just look around the map and then meet up with my teammates when I feel like it. So this is big time better. when it comes to that. So I think it's gonna be fine, and we can't complain about that as much as we would like, because that was something I didn't like for years with From Software games, where the co-op was like, put a finger down, where are you? And you gotta go through a process, when I'm used to just clicking on a menu and inviting somebody into a game, you know? And these are the type of things that they have to work on more fluidly. You know, when you're on controller, for example, the way that PC players play, where they're in and out the menu, swapping things mid-fight, and that's a very cool thing. That's like the professional play style. And a lot of the regular guys playing on controller can't do any of this movement. And so those are the type of things that I would love for them to adjust and work on. But for me, one of the biggest conversations, and this is my personal take, is that the game felt like one or the other, right? When you're sitting in here, it felt like if I went through these castles and beat all these smaller enemies and a couple mini bosses, I can beat the boss pretty easily, comfortably, and not feel threatened. And if you don't do that, you're gonna have a very high challenge. And now I get it, it's a From Software game, so it's not supposed to be one way or the other, and all of these games always have that weird unbalanced scaling. But the scaling is there, it's just that you can be overpowered and just destroy these bosses pretty easily. So I'm not sure what they can do. And how do you guys feel? I don't need a boss to have like 10 million health, and you know, we gotta chip away for a half hour just to kill a boss. And I also don't need it that every boss is one-shotting no matter what type of gear you use. And so what is the balance that you guys feel is good? This is a From Software game, so it's supposed to be difficult, but it felt a little bit easier to level up and get strong enough. So I'm not sure how they can turn that up. And of course, this is the network test. Until we get the full game, you can't really say. But that's just something that I was thinking about and that I want to hopefully see get fixed and that gets worked on in the long run, because that's something that people have kind of not sure about, and they're questioning if it's in the right place. And lastly, this is probably the most on-demand topic, is are we getting a solo mode to this? A lot of us, myself included, loves the challenge of getting in there and trying to figure it out. It might be too difficult for soloing. Don't know. But right now the game requires you to have your full team. Now a player can drop out and then you're playing with two players, but that is not even a mode or requirement that they can allow you right now. And the devs are taking notes. They said they thanked us for the feedback, which is nice, but it's not a sure thing that on release they're going to make it so that you can play with two players rather than three, or maybe just play with one player, right? Those are the type of questions, if it's possible, that they can make that happen. You know, this has been a single player game for the most part, Elden Ring and the DLC. It allows you to co-op and do PvP, but it's not the main focus. You can play the whole game solo. So even though I know this is supposed to be co-op, and I'm not demanding this, by the way, this is more community focused, I would love it if they did make it a two-player or one-player experience where they allow you to go in, if you really want to go in and show off how good you are, just for fun. You know, I personally don't mind playing co-op, even if it's with randoms. If they die and I can continue the game, then cool. But if they keep dying, it might be a problem. And I'm not sure how that will work in the long run, where players probably not playing too well and they're just like ruining the fun of the game. You get me? So those are the type of questions I have and thoughts when it comes to feedback and breakdown. And I want your feedback and your thoughts. I want you to share what you're thinking in the comments, because there's probably way more than that. Again, the quality of life is the biggest conversation. Just small little things that's been a problem on all the Elden Rings. But now that this is a co-op experience multiplayer, I think they can't be allowed to just get away with not upgrading certain things, in my opinion. So hopefully we see those quality of lives. Let me know what type of things you feel you want to see from this game in the near future when they do fix it. Appreciate you guys. Hope y'all enjoyed this. By the way, I got the full run of what you're watching. If you want to see the full run, it's on my channel, as well as some breakdowns on all of the items in the network tests. Okay, so it should be on the channel, popping up right now. Make sure you like and comment if this video was entertaining and informative. We got more along the way. See you there. Peace.